Hello, this is Alan G. Davison, and I've come with a couple of updates. I've decided that I'm going to go through with my idea, and I'm going to start casting for a small story that I wrote recently. Now, mind you, the grammar isn't going to be amazing, but it's just some actual dialogue parts. I intend to do the narrations and the main characters since it's from a first person perspective. I'm gonna put a description, maybe put in a couple of their lines and stuff, and a basic description of who they are in the course of the actual story itself. Now, there's no time limit. I'm really just doing this for fun, so I really don't have a serious time crunch or time limit or anything like that. And another update, for those of you who don't actually check out my channel, I've been talking about my first book, The Blessed, that I self published. Well, I've decided that I've got to do something different with it. I'm going to be doing some editing changes, adding to it, taking away, stuff like that. But I don't really have the money for it. I don't really have the ability. And no, I'm not asking for any donations or anything like that. I plan on working it out on my own. But because of that, I've decided that I'm going to put up the edited version. It's not really very well edited, but it was edited nonetheless. Up on fictionpress.net, the sister site to fanfiction. I'm putting it up there full story. It's got the prologue, the epilogue, acknowledgments, everything's up there. So if you're interested in it and you read it and you like it, leave me a review, leave me a comment, any stuff like that. And if you would be a very great sport, maybe show it to a couple other people and see what they think. Now, mind you, it's probably going to change, but the actual story itself and what happens in the story will never change. So if I do ever republish it or alter it or something like that, you won't have to worry about going back to read it in order to understand what's going to happen on in the rest of the series. Now then, if I were to take a step back and go back to the story that I intend to actually do a audio drama thingy over, whatever you really feel like calling it. The story itself is called Strangers That You Meet. It's got about 11, 12-ish characters, mostly men, but three women in the actual thing that are going to need to be taken care of. Now, it is a horror story, but I don't really consider it all that scary. Then again, everybody has differentiating opinions on that matter. Don't worry, nothing gory or graphic, and I don't expect people screaming at the top of their lungs reading this. Um, the whole premise is that it's basically part of a series, and the first book isn't all that long. So it's not like if you plan on doing this, I'm going to be hounding you for lines or anything like that. I'm pretty sure any person with a microphone could probably have all of their lines recorded for a single person really quickly. Not saying that you need to do that, but, not a lot of people actually have a whole lot of lines, with the exception of the main character, since it's all a personal narration, which I will be doing myself, since I couldn't really ask anybody to actually do that. And I have been told the character apparently has a lot of my personality in it, and he's supposed to be an everyman, which is what I am right now. Kind of sad, really, but, hey, gotta start somewhere. I'm going to go through the list of characters real quick. And we have Brian Johnson, and he is a bodyguard. He is for a political campaigner. And he's a bit goofy, but he has his serious moments. So when you first meet him, he needs to have like a joking tone to him, but you need to be able to pull off serious, aggravated, and angry as well. At least a little subdued, not like screaming at the top of his lungs, but more like, "Ugh, I cannot believe what happened. We need to kill this individual. I cannot, will not allow this thing to roam around after it killed my friend." Somewhere along those lines. While also being able to be, joking and stuff like that. Next up is Clark Dean. He is the actual politician himself. This guy's going to be a little bit older. Not too old, but, probably in his 40s or something like that. So give him a little bit of age if you can. And he's a little absent-minded and always, he switches around a little bit. He's sporadic. You'd have to really look at a couple of his lines for you to really understand him. And then there's Mr. Crowley, which I would have enjoyed a friend of mine actually doing him, but he's been busy, difficult to get a hold of, and Mr. Crowley's lines are actually quite a few. He's in quite a bit of the story. Now, he is a special agent for a government agency, if that makes any sense. American. He's got to have a very calm but tired voice, like world weary and stuff. Let's see here. Next is Edward, but he's the main character, and since it's a self-narration, I will be doing that. If anybody actually does want to try out for him, and you do a really good job, and you can go through everything relatively quickly. I mean, it's only 64 pages long, but if well, that's not long compared to my other work, which if you look that up, you'll see. But it's quite a bit. I won't ask anyone to actually do that, but if you really, really want to be the main character, I'm going to let you know right away. You're basically being the narrator as well as the main character, so you're going to have a lot of lines. Let's see here. Next is Frank Church. He's a psychologist. He is throughout good portion of the story, but he doesn't really get a whole lot of lines. But he's got a calm, casual sort of sound to him. You don't really expect a whole lot of serious emotions from him. More a very logical and calm, if not at least a little smartassy. I don't really know if that's actually a word or if you use that to describe someone's voice, but next up is Sam Doyle. He is the other bodyguard next to Brian, and if my little dialogue thing that I did there for Brian is any hint, he dies in the story. He doesn't get too much. He's kind of the straight man to Brian, usually no nonsense, very business area. And next is George Smith. He is the general guy. Very angry, loud, no patience. Going to involve quite a bit of shouting with this character. Another one, which is Laura. She's part of the same agency Crowley is in, and she, his boss. She's also very calm, no nonsense type of individual, but at the same time, she doesn't have quite as much patience with people. Well, she'd be the type of person that would be doing an interrogation, stuff like that. Very intelligent sounding. And let's see here. Next up is Crystal, and she is a female character, but I need someone whose voice would be very vague. This is a bit of a spoiler for the story, but anybody who's actually interested in this but he's still staying, and anybody else who doesn't care probably would have called off at this point in time. It's a bit of a spoiler, but basically the main character believes that um, she is a guy at first. So, very soft, subdued voice, something that a person in a dark room might not necessarily recognize as female right away, but still female to begin with. I originally was going to have her be a guy, actually, but I changed my mind like halfway writing the story. Because I was like, I only actually have two female chicks in the story, and I was kind of like, nah, we need more women. Alrighty, next up is Olivia Turner. She is a soldier, and she's got some attitude to her. Really, she's based off of a lot of the type of women that I've actually worked with. No nonsense, kind of annoyed by the main character, very soldier, businesslike, but not above being a little petty every now and then. And that's pretty much all the characters. There are a couple of one note ones that I didn't put in my character bio section. That was very bad on my part. Um, she is basically a single chapter character who Edward ends up meeting. Let's see here. I don't recall her name, to be honest. It's actually, she was only showing up for like one chapter, so I never really bothered to put her in. Basically, it is a female role, and you would need a very what's the word for it? A very model-like tone, like a person who's used to attention, and more often than not, just very female voice. Whereas Olivia Turner and Crystal are both, female, but maybe more of a stereotypical woman voice. Nothing too over the top, or nothing like, no serious tone requirements for this character. And there is also another one, John Doe. Uh, Basically, he's a character that sort of wanders in more or less. Uh, he's up. I can't really explain his character, but very shady. He talks to the main character while he's in his prison cell, and that's pretty much the extent of his character. Very nosy, talkative, a slimy voice. And there's one more character. He doesn't get a whole lot of lines either, just like the other ones, which is why I don't have a character bio sheet. And his name also eludes me as well. He is. I'll just call him Bane for right now. Okay, I might as well just give it away. He's basically the villain in human form, more or less. So I need a very harsh sounding, very um, uh, jealous boyfriendy sort of sounding voice. One who'd be prone to at least bits of spike in, aggression before being able to subdue them really quickly. You know? And so those are basically the different characters, a little bit about them. I'm going to be putting all of that stuff up under in the description if anybody's interested. And to be honest, this story is not been sent through the copyrights and stuff like that. So anybody who actually goes through there, I want don't spread it around or anything like that. And I'm going to be keeping any like actual chapters that you will not need away from you, so you'll only be getting bits and pieces. I'm not really worried about people stealing it, but well, I'm not really, am I? I'm still basically working it out, and I'd rather the unfinished, the unedited version not, get halfway to China. So I'll probably, for any people outside of the person who does Edward, if somebody can in fact steal it from me, I'll probably just be spending like actual lines to you and maybe like brief descriptions about where you are, where you're going on. I'm not looking for any like serious professionals if video professionals do want to join in. So this is just basically a personal pet project of mine. I'm just having fun. So don't really don't really expect me to, get all worried or worked up or anything like that. I'm doing this for the fun of it. And that's pretty much the extent of any serious updates. Um, Nothing I can really go over in full detail right now. And I've hit my 15 minutes, so I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to start getting everything set together, and hopefully I'll get at least one or two people who would be interested in doing a voice. Um, don't wait too long because I'm a little bit impatient, and I might actually just do start doing it like with my own voice for some of the male characters and just basically putting in who wants to join in. So I'm probably going to hold off on this project for a little while, but like as soon as you sign up and I'm like, yeah, I want your voice, I'm going to send you the actual lines as soon as humanly possible. So as soon as you get in, you're basically going to be getting the lines and then sending them in, and I'll like send you like an update whenever the actual story itself gets put on. So like I'm not a great editor. I've got the Adobe Sound Booth project, and I plan on basically piecing something together more or less. So don't expect like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. Like I said, this is basically just me having some fun and, messing around with one of my stories a little bit more. I was hoping to do The Blast, but that story is so long I wouldn't know where to begin. So I'm going to do a short one, and if it works out and I enjoy it, and if I get some people who like, yeah, you really need to do this, I might do it. I'm not saying I won't because, things change. Alright, this is getting ridiculously long. So, anybody who's interested, just hit me up a comment. Just make sure your microphone's of decent quality. I'm not really all that picky, like I said. So,